Hi everybody, so one of the amazing things about Microsoft Flight Simulator, not only for PC, but also for Xbox, is the internal marketplace within the game. And one of the things that you can get is an aircraft carriers paid DLC pack from LVFR. Now when you go onto the marketplace and find the aircraft carriers global DLC, you see it only gets about 2.5 out of 5 in terms of ratings. And this may be because people buy it with the false impressions of what you get with the pack. So it was recently in the sale, so I thought I would give it a go. And to be honest, I have been really impressed with this. With some caveats that I think if you understand will allow you to be really impressed with it as well. So in this video I'm going to talk about, what do you get with the pack? Where are the carriers? What do they do? Can you take off? Can you land? How much detail are there in the carriers? Is it worth it, and should you buy it? And lots of these answers you'll see in the video footage that's playing at the moment. So by all means, make it full screen, go to full resolution so you can see everything. Also bear in mind that the carriers are a work in progress too, and that hopefully sometime in 2022, when the new Top Gun Maverick film comes out, Microsoft Flight Simulator are going to give us an official carrier, hopefully, fingers crossed. And if it's an official carrier, it should have all the working bits on it. And if it's got all the working bits on it, it means that the developers behind these carriers can then put the working bits into their carriers. Also, sometime in 2022 as well, helicopters should be coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator officially, which means that you'll be able to use these carriers, for helicopter operations, which is really cool. Also, another developer is working on an F-35 jet as well, and fingers crossed that will come to Xbox, and that will work really well because it's a vertical takeoff and landing fighter jet, that would work very well with the British carrier. So what do you get from this pack? Well, you get 7 American carriers, and you get 2 British carriers, and you get 1 French carrier. Now, I think the carriers, they're all pretty similar. They just have different hull numbers or pennant numbers on. So you get the Theodore Roosevelt, the Abraham Lincoln, the George Washington, the John C. Stennis, the Harry S. Truman, the Ronald Reagan, the George H.W. Bush on the American side, and you get HMS Queen Elizabeth, HMS Prince of Wales for the British, and you get the Charles de Gaulle for the French. And they're scattered around the world. So there's an American one south of Hawaii, off the coast of Los Angeles, one off the coast of New York, one off San Francisco, there's one near Gibraltar, so that's cool, and there's one off of Tokyo, and there's one near Norfolk, Virginia on the east coast of America. And the 2 British carriers are, one of them's near Portsmouth on the south coast of the UK, and the other one's near Plymouth on the south coast of the UK. And the Charles de Gaulle, the French one, is near Toulon, which is sort of on the Mediterranean coast of France. So that's pretty cool. So they're scattered around all over the place. So what do? Well, they don't move. They just sit there. They're kind of they're just like really a platform at the moment because they don't have any working bits on. There's no steam catapult. There's no arrestor cables. There's no blast shields. Nothing like that. But you can use them to take off and land, kind of in inverted commas, because when you find them, the way that you find them in the game is you go to the world view and you just look for their hull number or their pennant number. So for example, the Theodore Roosevelt is CV71, HMS Queen Elizabeth is R08, and the Charles de Gaulle is R91. So you just look for those, it'll take you there, and you can just say set as a destination, set as what would you call it? Set as takeoff. You have 2 options, don't you? And you will find yourself sitting on the deck of the carrier when you go into the game. Now you can, and I've tested this with the Hornet, I've tested it with the Tomcat and the Cessna and the Spitfire. Funnily enough, you can take off with them. Now you're not taking off from them in the normal sense of the word on the American carriers or the French carrier, where you're using the catapult. The DLC puts you on the back of the carrier, and you have to with the jets, you have to go to full afterburner with your brakes on, and then you'll have just enough speed to get off the end. The British carriers have got a jump, a ski jump on the end, so that gives you a bit of a kick into the air as well. So on the American carriers, I've tested the Tomcat, and I've tested the Super Hornet that we get, and they take off fine, and the Cessna, that takes off fine. And I've tested the Hornet on the French carrier and the British carrier, and I've tested the Spitfire off the British carriers as well. So the Tomcat might take off the British carriers, I don't know. It depends how fast it's got to go. But there's other tricks you can do as well. You know, you could reduce your payload as well. And on their site, the developers do say, look, you need to make sure that you don't have assisted takeoff turned on, and you must turn off crash detection as well, otherwise the game will crash you. They do say, as I said before, they are working on these carriers to hopefully maybe add some more, and then add things like the arrestor cables. But as you can see from the videos, you can take off, you can fly around them. Now, I've landed a Cessna on one of the big American carriers. I haven't managed to land one of the jets. I just can't slow down fast enough and end up falling off the end. But I did see a video on YouTube of someone landing a Tomcat on one of the carriers. So it may be doable, but you'll probably need quite a lot of skill in really cutting down the speed of the jet, you know, almost really stalling it and bringing it down almost, you know, like a flat stall if you're coming down to land, and then hit the brakes so you don't fall off the end of the carrier. How much detail do you get? Well, I think they're pretty good, actually. You'll see in the fly-around sections of the video, you know, you've got static aircraft scattered around, and static helicopters scattered around all of the carriers. The American carriers in particular have got a lot of detail in terms of aeroplanes on the lifts as well. There's radar that spins round. There's little fellas directing the other aircraft. None of the aircraft move. They're all just sitting there. And close up, it looks all right. When you're sitting in the cockpit view and you're having a look round, you know, there's more than enough detail. It looks good. And when you're overflying them as well, you know, I think they look pretty special indeed. So, come down to the question, you know, is it worth it? I mean, for me, I think for $10, for about £10, absolutely, this is absolutely worth it. If you're a fan of naval aviation and carriers and that sort of thing. Look, it's not perfect. There are no steam catapults, there are no arrestor cables, so you can't practice kind of serious simulation at doing it. But one of the things you can do, actually, because you can take off, you can do touch and go landings. In fact, that might be the most realistic thing you can do with the fast jets off the carriers. So what you do then is you do a simulated carrier approach, and then as soon as you hit the deck, go to full afterburner and take off again. And that would be really just like you would do it if it did have a arrestor cable. So you can do that. But for me, I think they're really interesting points of interest. They're really fun to fly off. They look amazing when you're whizzing over the top of them, and it just gives you something fun to do in Flight Simulator. You know, something else fun to do. You can fly to them, you can fly off them, you can do fly pasts, and I think especially when we get helicopters as well, it's just adds a really nice extra maritime addition to what you can do with Microsoft Flight Simulator. The fact that this is on a console, in this case on the Xbox Series S, is absolutely amazing. So I would say, if you like what you see in the video footage, and the idea seems good, dive in and get them. You know, dive in and get them, and then just use my tips. Turn off crash damage, turn off assisted takeoff, and what you do is with the jets, you go to full afterburner or full throttle. Try and get the full afterburner on, and the plane will then start to drag itself along. Take your brakes off, full flaps, and as soon as you get off the end of the carrier, gear up, and then start to climb away, and you can take off for them. And I've had a lot of fun with these carriers, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next with the LVFR. See how they develop them. But even if they left them as they were now, I would definitely be happy with my purchase. But there we go. What do you think? Put your questions and comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, hit like if you want to see more, subscribe, and I will of course see you again soon.